try to quit. If it's 10:33 now, I'll try to quit at 10:47. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right. Okay, where did I end off yet? Pikachu, yeah, okay. I bet I ended off here. Okay, yeah. Pikachu, a truck driver with a Pikachu doll? Sully picked up the doll. Bigabee, Daniel continued, looking straight ahead at the snowy wet road. Yeah, a trucker with a Pikachu doll. I used to have it on the top shelf until I started a collection of bugs and didn't want them crushed by a rolling Pikachu doll. Now I keep it down here. You got a bug collection also? Asked Sally, a bit taken back. Daniel kind of laughed and said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe the kind of critters I collected off my radiator over the summer in my travels through Virginia and especially Florida. I'd peel them off. Yeah, I'd peel off the biggest dragonflies and prettiest butterflies. I found them so cool and interesting that it seemed like a crime to just throw them away. As if it was like, well, throwing away the art of God. So they are up there. If they're up there, if you know what if you want to see them, it's up there. I used to keep my Pikachu doll. I bet you think I had that doll because I'm Japanese. True? Is that why? Asked Sally. Daniel smiled and said, "Yeah, actually, no. Hey, you brought up your flash drive pen that you're worried about. Well, that Pikachu has a story behind it. It's a very special object, not because it's a Pikachu, but because of what it contains. It, too, contains a flash drive I sewed up inside." Sully smiled and said, "Sewed up inside a Pikachu, you say?" "Yep, sewed up inside Mr. Pikachu or Mrs. Pikachu, him or herself. Who knows what the heck a Pikachu gender is? Who knows what a Pikachu gender is? I mean, I never really saw an episode of that anime series, just enough to know that Pokemon can only say their name and that some pink ball-shaped Pokemon called Jigglypuff put you to sleep with its singing." Again, after I looked at what was on that flash drive, well, when I saw that Pikachu in one of those stuffed toy containers, you used to grab stuffed toy uh, containers. You used to grab stuffed toy animals and whatnot with that with a crane scoop. I thought, hey, that would make a great container for my flash drive. I actually got lucky with one try snagging that Pikachu doll for me to later sew a flash drive into. So I looked kind of sad as she looked at the Pikachu doll. Daniel noticed and said, "I've never known anyone not to smile when holding the Pikachu doll. Pikachu usually cheers people up, not depresses them. The guy that had that flash drive before me had a fiance who loved Pikachu. As a matter of fact, after reading his journal, it inspired me to try to see if I could grab the Pikachu doll when I saw one. That one you are now holding." Sullivan said, as memories came flooding back. "It's just that I too had a Pikachu doll when I was a little girl. I saw the first Pokemon movie when I was 5 and fell in love with Pikachu." Stupid cartoon creation, I know, but when I saw that movie, well, there was this scene in it where Pikachu's master dies, and she, it, whatever, tries to revive him with lightning bolts to no avail. And oh, for a little girl, man, I cried along with that hopeless, sad Pikachu. It still makes me sad thinking about it. But hey, my dad got me a Pikachu doll, and well, it really was the first toy I actually loved, and it was so simple too. Really, said Daniel. Well, maybe I'll see that movie someday. Oh, I'm pretty sure you'd be bored being a grown-up, Sully smiled. It's just that it had an effect on my 5-year-old psyche that I have a hard time forgetting it. Daniel thought and said, well, leave it up to my people to make a kiddie movie involving death that makes little girls cry. As Daniel drove the big rig through the snow, as Daniel drove the rig through the snow, Sally looked at the Pikachu, then said, it must be a very valuable flash drive to go through the bother of sewing it up inside this. Daniel put the truck into higher gear, then said, then nodded, I'll say. Something that ended my science teaching career and got me into trucking. What? Sully asked with surprise. You were a science teacher? A high school science teacher, yes, said Daniel. And now you're a trucker? Daniel smiled and said, being a trucker isn't so bad. You'd probably be a lot skinnier now if it wasn't for us truckers. Well, maybe not a lot skinnier because, hey, you're not fat. But it does kind of hurt to know that I'm doing something I spent over 4 years in college to not do. To not do. Yet you do it. Because something in that flash drive that you say is in that Pikachu made you a trucker? Sully looked at Daniel as if he might be a bit crazy after all. Daniel's voice was low and serious as he explained. The Pikachu is rather new. The inside, the thing inside is probably about 5 years old, and it changed my life. I wouldn't necessarily say it was for the better either. It took me out of my comfort zone, for sure. It rocked my godless world in more ways than you can imagine. Who knows? It might even end my life now, the way things are going. Sully smiled. You're being funny, aren't you? Daniel had the truck up in 6th gear. The truck was now moving 30 miles per hour through the snow. I sure hope I don't have to put on chains. Daniel said, there certainly is a flash drive inside that doll, and it's probably far more valuable than your rant against your boyfriend. Why? Sully asked as she investigated the Pikachu doll to see if she could find the stitches that sealed up the flash drive. Well, the USB flash drive containing 10 gig of data space, which was getting pretty close to being used up until I sewed it up inside that Pikachu again, changed my life. If it wasn't for that thing, you'd probably still be back in your car, freezing. Really? Again, what's it contain? Asked Sally. Believe me, it's a long story, smiled Daniel. It's been through a lot, developing quite a past, and has gone through multiple owners. I'm just the latest to own it. So I looked at Daniel, then looked back at the Pikachu doll. You were they your friends who owned the flash drive inside this? She asked. Daniel got the truck up into the sixth gear, then said, "Believe it or not, I never met any of them. Although I think the last one wrote me a couple of notes, let me know how his day went. I only kept the last note he wrote, but as I was saying, I never met any of them personally. As a matter of fact, before I obtained that flash drive, I think all people who owned it, including the last guy, have been killed." Sally smiled. "Oh, come on, you're being funny, aren't you?" Daniel was dead serious. Actually, not all had been killed. The second guy to have owned it killed himself. Killed himself, but why? Guilt, said Daniel. He did it out of guilt. Guilt for what? Sally was not convinced of his story. "You think I'm making things up, don't you?" asked Daniel. Sally nodded. Suddenly, Daniel felt the truck slide a bit. "Oh, this isn't good," he said. "Looks like I'm going to have to bring it under 30. Well, if they fire me for being late, they fire me. They're hardly paying me for this slavery anyway." "Gee," said Sally, "we're the only ones on this road." "In a way, I hope you're right," said Daniel, almost hopefully. Almost hopefully. Oh, in a way, I hope you're right," said Daniel, almost hopefully. Daniel downshifted to see if he could get more traction. Suddenly, there was a beeping sound. "What's that?" asked Sally. Daniel kept his eyes on the road as he picked up the old coffee-stained call come. He pressed a button on it and read the message. He then pressed another button on it and asked Sally, "Are you good at typing?" "I text," she said. Daniel then directed, "Just type, quote, 'I haven't been followed in the past 8 hours.'" Yeah. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. No, excuse me. Just type, "I haven't been followed in the past hour." Sally got a puzzled look in her eyes and asked, "What did they say for you to respond? What did they say for you to respond with that?" "They asked me if I was still being followed." "Followed? Who was following you?" "Attackers," said Daniel. "You were attacked? But why?" asked Sally with concern in her eyes. Daniel looked at the flash drive containing Pikachu in Sally's hand. "Because of that little thing inside the Pikachu that you're holding in your hand." I think I'll stop this one.